Alright, welcome to day 5 of Drawing Boot Camp. Today we're going to take a shift from still lifes into more landscapes. Let me give you a quick preview of what we're going to be doing. Look there, it's the last one. So here we go. So a quick preview. We're going to start with a wide open landscape. We're going to have a nice little brook that comes to the center. We may even throw in a little bit of reindeer or elk as we go along. Alright, a couple of things we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on bringing some of these mountains, alright, getting some atmospheric perspective. We're going to focus on creating space. Once again, more about vertical placement, where things are located. We're going to worry about, having much more focused stuff here in the beginning, a little darker, like in the foreground. We're going to create visual movement with the stream. All right, but we're also going to work on how do I contrast, all right, from heavy, thick like this to tops of the mountain there. And then this one little isolated tree here, all right, is another awesome compositional technique, all right, where you isolate the image from everything else. All right, so let's get started. So step 1, all right, let's do some sketching. Got our border already started. All right, things we're going to work on. Here's some landscape. All right, now basically we're already in landscape format. We have been for the past several sketches, so no need to change that orientation. We are going to focus on atmospheric perspective. All right, meaning that it's going to be much lighter in the background, darker in the front. All right, we're going to throw in that rule of thirds. All right, it's a really good driving force for what we're going to be doing, especially early on in drawing. All right, so we're going to have that rule of thirds. So I'm going to go ahead and break my drawing plane up into that 1/3, 2/3 orientation. All right, now this being said, let's block in some stuff. All right, just like we would block in a a drawing in for still lifes. All right, I know I'm going to have one cliff over here. Then there's going to be a smaller cliff that pretty much is connected to that. All right, behind it we're going to have a little cliff or mountain in the background, and then we're just going to have a small little rolling set that's going to do that right there. Now this is more of an Appalachian kind of mountain, something more close to Kentucky, as opposed to maybe something out in the Rockies. So this is really more home to us. Now, as I come forward, and what I'm sketching on now, is I kind of reminisce about, not being in the mountains right now. I'm going to take across our middle ground here, and I'm really going to create this almost triangular shape with jagged edges. All right, that's going to be that big floating plane of trees that you saw. All right, now, that being said too, let's go ahead and put in our wonderful little bitty isolated tree. All right, we may even run some lines kind of counter to that. Now here's what we want to do. We know you have a waterway in here. We don't want to draw every little bit of nook and cranny. All right, that seems a little bit obtuse, especially with this kind of like far-reaching landscape. So what I might do is I might just do a little bit of some jagged edges here and there, like the grass or the landscape is kind of weaving down to something, but I'm really going to pick up somewhere here in the middle ground. All right, this kind of sweeping, all right, large flowing brook. All right, so I'm going to start basically like that. Almost, it really kind of looks like a lightning bolt. All right, so just let your pencil kind of free flow. Now I am going to open up, and I'm going to kind of pull the landscape down this way. All right, but then once I get down here to the bottom, I'm going to change directions. All right, I really want the mouth of this river to open up. So what you'll see here is that this is the water coming at us. The water may take a tributary behind this, but this will definitely be like a little hill All right, I'm going to put some grass there for now, just so that you know. But the water probably does go back that way. All right. Now in the foreground, I am going to throw in, all right, a set of rocks, and you saw that in the other image. But I'm only going to work in threes. Now, man, I love threes. 3 is such a strong art number. All right, and I use it all the time. Sometimes I depend on the number 3, all right, to do artwork. So when I come here to the foreground, I'm really going to focus on 3 kind of large boulders sticking out. All right, and I've got one that looks like it's over the edge. I got one that's bleeding off the page, and I got this third one that's taking up a lot more space. Now, you saw that I covered that over. All right, you know that I like doing that. All right, so if you need to erase that out, please do so. All right, now, bam. All right, there in basically 4 minutes. All right, even with me talking, we've sketched out this huge, massive landscape. All right, so first thing we want to do is start in the back. All right, I mentioned that a couple of lessons ago about starting in the background and then working forward. It is really, really important when working landscapes that you start like that. No matter if you're watercolor painting or you are, working with oils or just graphite, start in the back. All right. Now the back being these little mountains back here, or these little rolling hills. All right. So what I want to do is I want to, since they are kind of far-reaching, and I'm going to say that this is going to be early in the morning. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start kind of frenzied with my pencil, and I'm just going to texture up, all right, those little hills back there. All right. I may bring a little bit of info down, but really at this distance you're not going to see a whole lot of stuff, and that's where people get so caught up. They're like, I gotta get every tree. No, you don't. All right, you don't have to get every tree. All right, you can't see and or process every possible tree that's back there. All right, but you can make an impression of that, and that's what this kind of sketching is about. It's about making an impression. It's about capturing the shape, the essence, all right, the feeling that's there. It's not about getting every single tree. All right. Now, where these overlap, I may put in a little heavier stuff, because you got one going down, the other one. So with more trees, there's probably more of a concentration. All right. But once I get out of that, really just kind of focusing more to the top of things. Here's another overlapping, so I may darken those up just slightly. All right, and you want things to look irregular. You don't want them to be like, I'm going to make a triangle. I'm going to make a triangle. No. All right, you've got lots of different trees, lots of different types of trees. Let that just sketch in the background. All right. Now, as I just said, we don't want a lot of info in here. All right, this is kind of Appalachian when it comes to, the atmosphere. So a lot of this, there could be fog in here. All right, there could just be, really barren trees, or there could just be, haze. All right, it could be a really hazy day, lots of humidity outside. So this is going to blur. All right, so that's why we're going to focus much more up on the top. Now, in the next part, which is this section here, all right, we want to put a little bit more information. We're going to draw more information down, but we want to keep roughly this area kind of free of lots of clutter. All right, and I'll explain more about that in a second, but we want this to be much more free of info, so that we can really focus on what's coming up here in the next section. So let's start here at the top. All right, I really like working the pinnacle of things first. All right, we get that those edges done, and that really kind of makes the believability of what we're going to do, all right, that much better. But if you start down here, all right, working things that may not turn out the way you want. All right, so here's one of those instances. I want to put like a little bend, or maybe a little rock formation that's coming out there. Maybe I have some trees that are, you know, still full that are coming this way. All right, so I'm just slightly giving some shape to the top. All right, and once again, it's hazy. All right, so this area we're going to let it be open. Now, Mr. Sturgill, why does it have to be hot, or why does it have to be, could this be a snowscape? Yes. All right, and that's perfect. If you want a snowscape, all right, this all would just be the snow area. This would be snow. This would be where you would see the trees and stuff, kind of poking through. Now, what you see here, I'm working the top edges. I'm really kind of putting a lot more emphasis on the outside A shape or the A frame of this. All right, but I'm going to put some info in there, but man, it's got to be light. It can't be anywhere near those colors. All right, this way the viewer knows that, yeah, maybe there is a walking trail there, or maybe there is some other trees that are growing. All right, so going to keep moving forward now. I am going to throw in just a little heavier line there. All right, just so that when you look at it later, you can tell, oh, there is a bottom of that hill. All right, now we've talked about before about drawing all the way through things. So I do want to, just as a, kind of jumping around a little bit, I do want to finish this out. Now this is going to be covered up right here in a second, but just in case if I don't, all right, it's done for me. Now, let's move to this section. Now, the first thing I want to tell you to do is tree trunks. And the reason being that this will keep you honest about where you put your trees. I'm going to have one that's slanted. All right. Now, with this kind of trees, they're thick. All right. They're going to be over top each other. And we're going to have to do some bigger trees, smaller trees. We're going to have to kind of fill in some spaces. We're also going to have some underbrush here. We're going to have some new growth in this area. All right. So let's start sketching. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start wide. I'm going to start this one, probably one of these two, and one of these over here. All right. So I'm going to start at the pinnacle. We've talked about this already. Start at the top. I'll try not to bear down so much and break my lead. So what I'm going to do, just side to side motions. Sometimes I'm making an S, sometimes I'm making a U. All right, sometimes I'm just sweeping back and forth. So I really want to set that tree in. All right, there's tree one. Then, like I said, I will skip over. Because with this process, I want to work more smart than instead of hard. All right, I don't want to have to draw in every tree. I don't want to have to make every single tree trunk. All right, but I also don't want it to make it a big cluttered mess. So I need some focal points. I need some trees that are taller, some trees that are, further down, some that are fuller. All right, then I'll come back over here. I'm going to put this one in. This is my outside tree. It takes all the wind. All right, it's my front runner. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to start as the gaps start getting smaller. Alright, we're going to start getting the trees to fade into each other. You see how I just did that? Alright, work the pinnacle, pull the values down. Sometimes they're going to be nice and heavy. Sometimes they're going to be misshapen. Maybe one is like, oh, I'm just too tired today and is leaning. Then the one behind is like, oh, I could see through there. Now, we talked a minute ago too about underbrush. about there being some new growth. So I'm going to, with a good foul swoop here, I'm going to take and really just jag up this. I may even bring some out in front of. Alright, I'm really going to throw in the thicket that would be at the bottom of these trees. Alright, I'm going to work some swooping motions left and right. And basically just start filling that in. Alright, because these are evergreen trees. Alright, they're not big poofy cloud trees. They're not pine. I'm sorry, they are pine. But they're not like oak or anything with large billowing shapes. Alright, these are really just straight up, very triangular shaped trees. Get the underbrush. I love this kind of landscape drawing because it fits my drawing style a whole bunch. Alright, because as I've told you in the past, I'm a scribbler. I love to, just let my pencil freely go. It matches, the looseness and the chaos of my drawing style. Alright, and super quickly there, I have laid in a little massive forest. I mean, there it is, bam. Alright, I can see through some. I didn't need to draw every tree. I didn't need to draw every little bit. Alright, you saw how I went from a couple of things, laid them in, and then start filling in the center. Alright, now, pretty cool. Man, I'm proud of myself. That's good. So now we've got background. We're working in the middle ground. Alright, next part is, let's get this isolated tree. Alright, now this poor little tree, alright, it is wanting to be a part of that group over there. Alright, but it's like, I gotta follow my own path. Alright, so in doing that, let's give it its due justice. Let's let it be a better tree. Alright, those over there are all following. This one is the tree that basically does what it wants. Alright, so it's going to be fuller. It's going to have, a lot more angled branches. It could be, there's stuff that's just loading off of it. Now I'm going to put some shading behind it. Alright, to reiterate that heel, it's got to have some cast shadow. It's going to be bringing down some extra things too. Alright, so some extra hills. May even put a little bit of shading there. Oh, look at that. Good tree. Alright. So let's make that a better tree. Let's fill in some of this. It would also have some underbrush. It may even have just a little bitty friend there. Alright. Not a whole big friend, but a little friend. Alright, cool. So the next part, since we've got lots of texture and we've got this thick black section across the center, I really want to leave a lot of this. I mean, we could sit there and try to texture it, alright, but just like we left, the haze back here and then the open area there, if I put too much in there, it really is going to get messy. It's going to get not looking so well. Alright, so what I want to do, I want to take the creek part, the river part, and I want to darken it. I want to give it, it's not necessarily like deep water. So what we're trying to focus on here is just getting that reflection, alright, that heaviness, and just as a good rule of thumb, when you're working with water like this, since there's a landmass underneath it, the reflection is always darker. Alright, so this is just a simple way of making that idea. So we're just going to darken that in. Now we are going to darken up these rocks, so as the mouth of the river comes to us, let that open up. Let that be nice and light. Alright, and before we come in the foreground, I want to, just to create some space, alright, I want to start adding some texture. And as I told people in class, if you're watching this, either you didn't make it all the way through the tutorial, or you were absent that day. All right, livestock, when they come to drink, they come to drink. All right, they eat out here, but they have a natural understanding that there's lots of critters that need this extra brush. They need these little cattails. They need the little marsh that's around the creek bed. That's where they spawn. That's where they put, you know, their babies, and that's where they hunt and get food. So always, even though this may be good and trimmed because of the wildlife, all right, they may have eaten that up, the stuff around the water is always going to be taller. All right, and that's just a friendly thing in nature. All right, nature a lot of times is really barbaric, but in this case it's not. All right, they leave that for those creatures to do what they need to do. All right, now the last part is the foreground. All right, and this is going to take us a minute or two to do. So what I want to do, start on these rocks. With these rocks in the foreground, they are not smooth. All right, they are really weathered. All right, so as I shade them, I really want to change the plane of them, and I want to have different values. I don't want all of them to be, oh, it is smooth rocks. Nope, these should be nice and different values, different edging. So here we go with that. Different, change. Now as I do this, I'm really going to keep the top sections here a lot lighter because I want my light to come this way. Alright, hard to tell back here where the light is. Alright, but as I get here in the foreground, I'm really going to keep these things consistent. And then with this, since it is closest, it'll be the darker value of the bunch, but I do want to honor that little bit of light source. Alright, so to finish this up, we really want to focus on two things. We want to focus on the wild grass that is here by the rocks. Alright, and remember to think about which one is closer, far away, middle, alright, right by us. So this would have taller grass. Alright, it's just a little clue. It's small little clues that make your drawings that much better. Alright, so not as big grass, heavy, alright, thicker lines, more grass there. Alright, you want some things here on the edges. Alright, and please make sure that they're not all going the same direction. Alright, nothing worse than looking at a landscape and every grass is flowing the same way. Alright, now at this point, once I work the edges, alright, I'm going to just lightly, fastly, alright, as quick as I possibly can, I'm going to sketch the grass. I'm going to have some wild looking grass. I'm going to have some thin grass. Alright, so basically that's it. Alright, we've done a great job of the landscape. You know, starting out, you've got really good trees here, block those in. We got good contrast between distance. We have space being shown. We have you know, some good texturing. All right, so I believe it's a good, successful sketch. Other than we need a little deer. Alright, so great sketch today. This concludes our drawing session for today. So we will pick up next class. We're going to do one more landscape. So keep sketching, peeps, and we will see you next class.